Lyra sat alone on the edge of the observation deck, her small legs dangling over the side as she watched the colony below. The sky of the planet Iridian was a swirl of purples and blues, streaked with bright golden light from the nearby star. The colony itself was a marvel of technology. Tall towers made of gleaming metal, hovering platforms crisscrossing the sky, and lights that flickered like distant stars. Yet despite all its wonders, Lyra felt a deep emptiness. She had been returned again. Today was the 5th time in 2 months. Each time, a family had arrived to adopt a child from the colony's adoption program. Each time they had met her, smiled politely, and then rejected her. The reasons varied. Some said she was too small, some said her eyes were unusual, and others whispered about her unpredictable telekinetic abilities. Lyra had learned to nod and smile when they said goodbye, even when it broke her heart inside. The colony's adoption hall had been designed to seem warm and welcoming, but for Lyra, it always felt cold. Rows of children sat quietly, their eyes shining with hope while their potential guardians watched, judging. The process was meant to match children with the perfect homes, but Lyra had yet to find one that saw her for who she truly was. Lyra's telekinetic powers were unusual. Objects would sometimes move on their own when she was upset or excited. At first, she had tried to hide them, afraid that showing her abilities would cause another rejection. But powers like hers could not be hidden forever. The colony staff tried to guide her, teaching her to control them with meditation and focus exercises. Some days were better than others, but today had been one of the worst. A vase had floated off the shelf and smashed into a wall during her latest trial, and the guardians had shaken their heads. Too unpredictable, they said. She sighed, her small shoulders slumping. Maybe I'm not meant to have a home, she whispered to herself. Her voice was soft, barely carrying over the hum of the colony machinery. No one responded. The staff had moved on to other tasks, and the other children were busy practicing manners and skills to impress their visitors. Lyra felt invisible, a shadow drifting through the crowd. Lyra's foster caretaker, an older alien named Theron, noticed her sitting alone. Theron had been assigned to watch over her while she waited for adoption. Unlike many of the other caretakers, Theron had grown fond of Lyra. He understood her powers, her quirks, and her stubborn hope. Lyra, Theron called gently, approaching her. You've been out here a long time. Come inside before the night chill sets in. Lyra shook her head. I need some air, she replied, her voice tinged with sadness. Her eyes were fixed on the horizon, where the twin moons of Iridian were rising. They cast a silvery glow over the colony, painting everything in a calm light that seemed almost magical. Theron knelt beside her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. I know it's hard, he said softly, but rejection doesn't mean you're unworthy. It only means the right person hasn't found you yet. Lyra looked at him with a faint smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. I've been waiting for so long. Maybe there is no one. She paused, then added quietly, I just want someone who believes in me, even with everything. Theron's gaze softened. And you will find them, Lyra. Patience is hard, but sometimes the most special bonds come to those who wait. The words were comforting, but Lyra couldn't shake the hollow feeling in her chest. She had watched other children leave with new families, their faces lit with joy while she remained behind. Each time she wondered what was wrong with her. Why hadn't anyone chosen her? What made her so different that no one could see the goodness in her? The night grew colder, and the stars shone brighter in the sky. Lyra's powers stirred slightly, a faint breeze lifting small objects around her as if responding to her emotions. She had learned to control them somewhat, but her feelings were strong tonight. Sadness, longing, and a pinch of hope all mixed together. The colony's advanced sensors detected the fluctuations and recorded them for analysis. Most of the staff saw only data, but Lyra felt them as small ripples of energy in the air. A soft chime echoed through the observation deck, signaling the arrival of a new transport ship. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. Another family? Could this be the one? She watched as the landing bay doors opened, revealing a sleek silver craft that glided down gracefully. Unlike the previous visitors, she noticed something unusual. The insignia on the ship was not from any of the local factions she recognized. A figure emerged from the ship, a human. Lyra had never seen a human in person before. Humans were rare in this sector, usually appearing only on diplomatic or exploratory missions. The human's movements were deliberate, confident, yet calm. He carried no weapons, only a small pack slung over his shoulder. His eyes scanned the area, and when they briefly met Lyra's, she felt a strange sense of recognition, as if he could see her in a way no one else had. Theron followed her gaze and raised an eyebrow. Interesting. Humans are uncommon here. I wonder what brings him to Iridian. Lyra didn't answer. She felt her curiosity tugging at her, stronger than her fear of disappointment. She had learned to be cautious, but something about this human made her heart race in a way she couldn't explain. The human approached the colony's central hall, where children were usually presented for adoption. The other children straightened nervously, hoping to impress. Lyra, however, remained seated, unsure if she even wanted to hope anymore. She had been hurt too many times. But then the human's gaze returned to her. He smiled, a gentle, warm smile that made her stomach flutter. It wasn't the kind of smile that judged or measured her. It was simply kind. "Hello there," the human said in a voice that was soft but firm. "I'm Captain Elias. I've come to learn about your colony, and perhaps meet some of the children here." Lyra blinked. Nobody had spoken to her like that before. The previous visitors had all seemed busy, distracted, or impatient. Captain Elias, however, seemed genuinely interested. She wanted to stand up and introduce herself, but her shyness held her back. Theron nudged her gently. "Go on, Lyra, say hello. You might be surprised." Taking a deep breath, Lyra stood and stepped forward. Her small hands trembled slightly, but she kept her chin up. I'm Lyra," she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. Captain Elias knelt down to her level, his eyes meeting hers. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Lyra. I've heard a lot about the children of this colony, but I wanted to meet each one personally." Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. No one had ever said something like that to her before. She didn't have to hide, didn't have to pretend to be perfect. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen. The colony staff exchanged surprised glances. They were used to visitors who skimmed the surface, who judged children by charts and reports. Captain Elias's approach was different. Lyra found herself talking to him, telling him small details about her life, her powers, and the trials she had faced. Captain Elias listened carefully, asking questions with genuine interest. He didn't flinch when she demonstrated a small telekinetic trick, lifting a small cup into the air with a thought. Instead, he smiled and nodded. "That's incredible, Lyra," he said. "You have a gift. And gifts like yours. They deserve to be nurtured, not hidden." Lyra's eyes widened. Nobody had ever said that to her. Not the staff, not the visitors, not even Theron. She felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Maybe this time, maybe this human could see her worth. The night wore on and the stars continued to shine. Lyra and Captain Elias talked for hours, sharing stories and laughter. The colony for once seemed quiet and welcoming, as if the universe itself had paused to watch this meeting unfold. As Lyra finally returned to her quarters that night, she felt a strange lightness in her heart. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring or if Captain Elias would choose her. But for the first time in a long time, she dared to hope. The morning sun cast long shadows over the colony as Lyra awoke with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Her mind replayed the events of the previous night over and over. Captain Elias had smiled at her, listened to her, and treated her as if she were special. It was a feeling she had never experienced before, and it filled her with both hope and doubt. Lyra sat on the edge of her bed, swinging her legs nervously. "Could he really mean it?" she whispered to herself. "Could a human really care about me?" Theron, her caretaker, entered the room with a warm smile. "Morning, Lyra. You seem brighter than usual today." Lyra shook her head, trying to hide her excitement. "It's nothing," she said softly. But Theron only chuckled. "Nothing, huh? Lyra, you've been returned so many times. You've learned to hide your feelings, but it's obvious when something touches your heart. Something or someone has done that." Lyra blushed. She had no words to answer. How could she explain that a human, someone so different from everyone she had met, had made her feel seen for the first time in her life? Down in the courtyard, the colony's children gathered for their daily activities. Many were practicing skills to impress potential guardians, while some trained in basic combat, agility, or problem-solving exercises. Lyra usually participated reluctantly, but today she felt a new energy inside her. She wanted to be ready, to show herself in a way that might catch Captain Elias's attention again. As she practiced, she noticed the other children glancing at her. Some were curious about the human visitor, while others whispered about her powers. Lyra ignored them, focusing instead on the exercises Theron had suggested to help control her telekinesis. Small objects floated around her, guided carefully by her mind. It was delicate work, but she felt a sense of pride with every success. A soft vibration echoed through the courtyard, signaling the arrival of a message. The colony's communication system was linked to all incoming ships. Lyra's heart skipped a beat when she saw the name, Captain Elias. Lyra, Theron said gently, noticing her sudden stiffening. Would you like to see who it is? Lyra nodded, unable to speak. She followed Theron to the viewing area, where the screen displayed Captain Elias standing in the landing bay, smiling warmly. Good morning, Lyra, he said. I was hoping to see you again. May I come to speak with you? Lyra's chest swelled with happiness. Yes, she said quickly, almost forgetting to breathe. Within moments, a small transport shuttle landed in the courtyard. Captain Elias stepped out carefully, his human frame contrasting with the alien architecture and otherworldly children. Lyra ran to meet him, her small feet barely touching the ground as she ran. Hello, Lyra, he said, crouching down to her level once more. I hope I'm not intruding. Lyra shook her head. No, I'm glad you came. They walked together through the colony, talking about everything and nothing. Captain Elias asked her about her favorite books, her favorite parts of the colony, and even about her powers. Unlike the previous visitors, he didn't seem afraid of her abilities. Instead, he asked thoughtful questions, curious about how they worked and what it felt like to have them. Lyra found herself opening up in ways she hadn't before. She told him about the rejections, about how it felt to be returned again and again. Her voice trembled at times, but Captain Elias listened patiently, never interrupting, never judging. That must have been very hard, he said softly. But you are stronger than you realize, Lyra. It takes courage to keep trying when others give up on you. Lyra looked down, her fingers fidgeting. Do you really think someone will want me? Even with my powers? And everything else? Captain Elias reached out and gently touched her shoulder. I don't just think it, Lyra, I know it. You're special. Anyone who can see your gifts and not be afraid. They will be lucky to have you. Lyra felt warmth spread through her chest. She had never heard anyone speak to her like this. The colony's adoption system had always focused on perfection, on meeting certain standards. But Captain Elias saw something else, something deeper. He saw her heart, her mind, her courage, and her potential. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert from the colony. A security panel flashed red, signaling a disturbance near the outer perimeter. Several rogue maintenance drones had malfunctioned, threatening to damage the colony's external platforms. Captain Elias's eyes lit up. Do you want to see something exciting? He asked, a spark of curiosity in his gaze. Lyra nodded eagerly. Yes. They ran toward the outer perimeter together. Lyra's powers flared as they approached, sensing the danger. Small metal objects floated in the air, drawn to her energy. She concentrated, guiding them carefully to prevent further damage. Captain Elias watched, impressed, but he didn't step in immediately. Instead, he offered suggestions, helping her focus her energy more effectively. Try imagining the objects moving in a circle, he said calmly. Let your mind lead them, not your fear. Lyra followed his guidance, and slowly, the rogue drones were brought under control. The colony staff rushed in to assess the situation, amazed to find that a small child and a human visitor had managed to neutralize the threat without injury or damage. Remarkable, one of the senior staff members muttered. We've never seen such coordination. Especially from a child with unstable abilities. Lyra beamed, feeling a sense of pride she had never experienced before. For once, her powers were seen not as a danger but as a gift. And it was all because Captain Elias had believed in her. After the incident, Captain Elias knelt beside her again. See, Lyra, your powers are amazing when you use them with focus. You have an incredible gift. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Lyra nodded, her heart full. Thank you, she whispered. I've never had someone say that to me before. Captain Elias smiled. Then it's about time someone did. The rest of the day passed quickly. They walked through the marketplace, watched the engineers repair the damaged platforms, and even visited the small library where Lyra loved to read. Captain Elias asked questions about everything, showing genuine interest in the alien culture, the children, and their lives. Lyra had never met anyone so patient and kind. As evening approached, Lyra felt a mixture of happiness and sadness. She didn't want the day to end, but she knew Captain Elias would have to return to his ship eventually. They sat together on a small hill overlooking the colony, watching the twin moons rise again, their silver light casting a gentle glow on everything around them. Lyra, Captain Elias said softly, I know you've been hurt before, and I know it's not easy to trust someone new, But I want you to know, I see you. I see who you are, and I think you're incredible. Lyra felt tears prick her eyes. She had never been seen like this before. Not by families, not by the staff, not by anyone. She felt a deep connection forming with this human, one that filled the emptiness she had carried for so long. Do you really mean that? She asked quietly. Captain Elias nodded. Every word. You're strong, smart, and brave. And the world, our worlds, need people like you. Don't ever doubt that. Lyra smiled, feeling a warmth she had never known. For the first time, she allowed herself to hope. Maybe, just maybe, her forever home wasn't a dream. Maybe it was waiting for her, in the form of someone who truly believed in her. As night fell, Captain Elias prepared to leave. Lyra waved goodbye, her heart heavy with longing but filled with hope. She knew their journey together had only just begun. The human had come to the colony by chance, but his presence had changed her life forever. That night, Lyra lay in bed staring at the ceiling. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. She didn't feel rejected. She felt seen. She felt chosen. And somewhere deep inside, she knew that tomorrow might bring a new beginning, a chance for a home, a place where she belonged. The next morning, Lyra awoke with a sense of determination. Captain Elias had left a note for her at the communication terminal before returning to his ship. It read simply, "Keep practicing your powers, Lyra. They are incredible. I will see you again soon." Her heart swelled with excitement and hope. For the first time in a long while, she felt that someone believed in her abilities and, more importantly, in her. She dressed quickly and ran to the training courtyard, eager to put her powers to the test. Theron was already waiting for her, observing the other children as they practiced their exercises. "I see someone is motivated today," he said, smiling. Lyra nodded. "I want to be ready," she said. "I want to show Captain Elias I can control my powers and maybe I can finally pass the colony's trials." Theron raised an eyebrow. "The trials are not easy, Lyra. They test not only your skills but also your patience, intelligence, and courage. Are you sure you're ready?" Lyra took a deep breath. "I have to try," she said firmly. "I can't give up anymore." The colony's trial system was designed to challenge every aspect of a child's abilities. Children were placed in simulated environments, faced with complex problems and observed by advanced sensors and staff members. Lyra had always struggled with these trials because her powers were unpredictable. But with Captain Elias's encouragement, she felt more confident than ever. The first trial of the day involved navigating a maze filled with moving obstacles. Lyra focused, letting her telekinetic abilities guide her. Small platforms shifted under her control, creating a safe path as she advanced. Normally, this trial would have caused chaos with objects crashing and sensors triggering alarms. But today, Lyra moved with precision. Each step was careful, each motion deliberate. She felt a calm focus she had never experienced before. When she reached the end of the maze, the observers whispered in surprise. One of the senior staff, an alien named Vera, approached Theron. "Remarkable," Vera said. "Lyra's control has improved significantly. She is not just strong, she is thoughtful in her application of her powers." "This is unusual for someone her age," Theron smiled proudly. "She has had good guidance," he said, glancing toward the shuttle pad where Captain Elias had departed. "Someone believes in her." Lyra moved on to the next trial, which tested her problem-solving skills. A section of the colony had been transformed into a simulated environment, filled with obstacles, locked doors, and puzzles. Lyra's task was to reach a central chamber by using her powers and intelligence. At first, the trial seemed overwhelming. The puzzles were complex, requiring both logic and creative thinking. Lyra hesitated, feeling the familiar sting of doubt. "Maybe I'm not ready," she whispered to herself. Then she remembered Captain Elias's words. "You are stronger than you realize. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Taking a deep breath, Lyra focused. She combined her powers with her reasoning skills, lifting objects, manipulating them into place, and solving each puzzle one by one. Doors that had seemed impossible to open now slid smoothly, guided by her energy. She felt a rush of excitement as the final door clicked open, revealing the central chamber. The staff watched in awe. "She adapts quickly," Vera said quietly. "Most children would panic under this pressure, but Lyra remains calm and focused. She is exceptional." Lyra's confidence grew with each success. She moved on to the third trial, which tested courage. A virtual simulation projected a scenario in which the colony faced a sudden threat, an artificial storm that caused platforms to collapse and machinery to malfunction. Lyra's task was to rescue a small group of simulated children and guide them to safety. Her heart raced as the storm raged around her. Debris floated in the air, and mechanical hazards moved unpredictably. But Lyra remembered the feeling of working with Captain Elias during the rogue drone incident. She felt that same calm determination, the same trust in her own abilities. Using her powers, she lifted debris out of the way, guided floating platforms to create safe passages, and carefully maneuvered the virtual children to safety. The staff monitored her every move, astonished by her courage and resourcefulness. When the simulation ended, the observers erupted in quiet applause. "Impressive," Vera said, her voice filled with respect. "Lyra has not only controlled her powers but has demonstrated intelligence, bravery, and compassion. These qualities are rare in any child, regardless of species." Lyra felt a warm glow of pride. For the first time, she believed she could meet the colony's expectations. But there was still one final trial, the most challenging one of all. The fourth trial was designed to test adaptability. Lyra was placed in an unfamiliar environment, a landscape that constantly shifted and changed. She had to navigate this terrain, solve unexpected problems, and make quick decisions, all while managing her powers. At first, the trial was disorienting. The ground shifted beneath her feet, walls appeared and disappeared, and strange creatures scuttled across her path. Lyra felt panic rising, but she forced herself to remember Captain Elias's advice. Let your mind lead your powers, not your fear. Focusing on her breathing, Lyra allowed her energy to flow naturally. She lifted fallen obstacles, created bridges over gaps, and guided strange creatures safely away from danger. Each challenge tested her patience and creativity, but she persisted, refusing to give up. After what felt like hours, Lyra reached the end of the trial. She was exhausted but triumphant. The observers were stunned. "She has exceeded expectations," Vera said, shaking her head in disbelief. Lyra is ready for real challenges, not just simulations. Her abilities combined with her determination make her extraordinary. Lyra sank to the ground, catching her breath. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction. For the first time, she had proven to herself, not to the colony, not to the visitors, that she was capable. She had faced every challenge, controlled her powers, and shown her courage. Theron approached, smiling broadly. "I knew you could do it, Lyra," he said, pride shining in his eyes. "You've grown so much. Today you've shown that your abilities are not a weakness, they are a strength." Lyra smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I did it. I really did it," she whispered. Maybe I'm ready for someone to see me for who I am." Later that evening, as Lyra rested in her quarters, the colony's communication system chimed again. It was a message from Captain Elias. "Lyra, I heard about your progress. You've done something remarkable. Your courage, intelligence, and control are impressive. I knew you were special, but seeing it in action, it's extraordinary. I will return soon, and I want to meet with you again. Be proud of yourself, your strength and heart are rare." Lyra read the message over and over, her heart soaring. Captain Elias believed in her. For the first time, she felt that someone truly understood her, saw her potential, and appreciated her for who she was. That night, Lyra lay awake thinking about the trials, her powers, and Captain Elias. She realized something important. The challenges she had faced were not just tests. They were opportunities to grow, to discover her own strength, and to prepare for the future she had dreamed of for so long. She no longer feared rejection. She had faced it again and again, and yet she had survived. She had learned to control her powers, to trust herself, and to believe that someone out there, perhaps a human named Captain Elias, might one day give her a home where she truly belonged. As she drifted off to sleep, Lyra made a silent promise to herself. She would continue to grow, continue to practice, and continue to hope. She would not let fear or doubt hold her back. One day she would find her forever home, and when that day came, she would be ready. The stars shone brightly above the colony, their light reflecting in Lyra's eyes. She felt a quiet determination, a spark of hope that could not be extinguished. The challenges had tested her, but they had also strengthened her. And now, with her courage and abilities growing stronger each day, Lyra was ready for whatever came next. Little did she know, the next challenge would not be a trial simulation, but a real test of her courage, her powers, and her heart. And when that day came, she would need all of her strength to face it. The sun rose over Iridian, casting golden light across the colony. Lyra awoke feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The trials had gone well, and she had grown stronger, more confident. Yet today felt different. Something in the air made her senses tingle, and even Theron, usually calm and composed, seemed more alert than usual. Outside, the colony's central hub buzzed with unusual activity. Alarms were silent, but flashing lights marked several sectors for urgent attention. Maintenance crews rushed to repair minor damages, and staff moved swiftly, their faces tense. Lyra's curiosity grew. "What's happening?" she asked Theron. Theron shook his head. "I'm not sure, Lyra, but whatever it is, it seems serious." "Stay close to me," Lyra nodded. She could feel her powers stirring as well, a soft hum in her mind that reflected her growing anticipation. Today was not a day for ordinary trials. It felt like something important was about to happen. As she and Theron approached the hub, a message arrived on the colony's communication system. It was from Captain Elias. "Lyra, I've been observing a situation developing near the outer perimeter. I think your skills can make a difference. Meet me at the shuttle bay if you are willing." Lyra's heart raced. She had trained for trials, simulations, and controlled exercises, but this was real. Her first instinct was fear. What if she failed? What if something went wrong? But she quickly remembered the lessons she had learned. Courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. "I can do this," she whispered. Theron placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I believe in you, Lyra. Remember what you've learned. Trust yourself." When they arrived at the shuttle bay, Captain Elias was already waiting. His eyes lit up when he saw her. "Lyra, I'm glad you're here. This situation requires calm thinking, courage, and control. Everything you've practiced. Are you ready?" Lyra nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "I'm ready." The problem became clear as they approached the outer perimeter. A sudden energy storm had formed in the nearby atmosphere, sending strong gusts of wind and unstable energy pulses across the colony's platforms. Several drones and automated transport units were malfunctioning, creating hazards for the colony's structures and inhabitants. "It's dangerous," Captain Elias said. "If we don't stabilize the platforms, part of the colony could be damaged. I need your abilities to guide the drones and protect the platforms while I help manage the energy field." Lyra's stomach tightened. This was unlike any trial she had faced. There were no simulations, no safety nets. This was real, and lives could be at risk. But she squared her shoulders and took a deep breath. "I can do it," she said firmly. The first challenge was directing the malfunctioning drones away from populated areas. Lyra focused her energy, lifting small metal parts into the air and guiding them to safer zones. The drones responded slowly at first, but with concentration she learned to control them with precision. Her heart pounded, but she felt a strange rhythm emerge, a dance between her powers, her mind, and the environment around her. Captain Elias monitored the storm, using his own knowledge of physics and technology to stabilize unstable energy fields. Together they formed an unexpected team, human ingenuity paired with alien ability. The storm intensified suddenly, stronger gusts tossing debris across the platforms. One large maintenance drone spun out of control, heading straight for a residential tower. Lyra's hands moved instinctively, lifting the drone and redirecting it. Sweat dripped down her forehead, but she remained calm, concentrating on the task at hand. "You're doing it," Captain Elias shouted over the wind. "Keep going, Lyra. You've got this." Encouraged, Lyra pushed herself further, guiding more drones to safety and stabilizing sections of the platform using her powers. She discovered new ways to channel her energy, creating protective shields around weak structures and directing objects with a finesse she hadn't known she possessed. After what felt like hours, the storm began to subside. Lyra's energy trembled with exhaustion, but her heart swelled with accomplishment. The colony had been protected, and her powers had proven themselves in a real high-stakes situation. The colony staff arrived to assess the aftermath. Their faces showed astonishment and respect. Vera approached Theron, speaking quietly. "I've never seen anything like this." Lyra did not just control her powers. She managed a crisis that could have caused serious damage. "She is extraordinary." Theron smiled, pride evident in his expression. "I've known it all along," he said softly. Captain Elias knelt beside Lyra, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You were amazing, Lyra. Today you showed courage, intelligence, and heart. Not just in trials or simulations, but in real life. I'm proud of you." Lyra's eyes sparkled with tears. She had never felt so validated, so recognized. The fear of rejection that had followed her for years was finally fading. As the day ended, the colony leaders gathered to discuss the implications of Lyra's actions. The Adoption Council had been monitoring the situation, and their decision would determine the next steps in her life. Vera addressed the group. Lyra's performance today demonstrates her potential far beyond what any trial could measure. She has intelligence, courage, creativity, and a compassionate heart. She is ready for someone to guide her, someone who sees her for who she is. There was a moment of silence as the council considered her case. Finally, the head of the council spoke. It is clear that Lyra has proven herself. We approve her to leave the colony under the guidance of Captain Elias, should he wish to provide her a home. Lyra felt her heart skip a beat. She looked at Captain Elias, hope and joy shining in her eyes. Does this mean I can go with you? She asked softly. Captain Elias smiled, his expression gentle and warm. If you want to, Lyra. I've seen your strength, your heart, and your courage. And I want to help you grow, explore, and discover your place in the universe. But the choice is yours. Lyra felt tears prick her eyes. After years of rejection and disappointment, she was finally being given a choice. A chance to belong somewhere, with someone who believed in her. Her mind flashed back to every lonely night, every failed trial, every returned attempt at adoption. And now all that pain seemed to lead to this moment. I want to go with you, she said firmly, her voice steady despite the tears. Captain Elias extended his hand. Then it's decided. We'll face the future together, Lyra. You won't be alone anymore. Theron hugged her tightly. I'll miss you, Lyra, he said softly. But I'm proud of you. You've grown so much, and this is your chance to find the home you deserve. Take care of yourself. And trust him. Lyra nodded, feeling a mixture of sadness and excitement. She had loved the colony, even with its challenges, but it had never truly been home. Now, with Captain Elias, she felt hope for the first time in her life. As they prepared to leave, the colony staff and children gathered to say goodbye. There were smiles, waves, and quiet murmurs of admiration. Lyra felt the warmth of their encouragement, knowing she was leaving not as a rejected child, but as someone who had proven herself in the face of great challenges. The shuttle lifted off, carrying Lyra and Captain Elias above the colony. Iridian's twin moons glimmered below, their light reflecting the promise of new beginnings. Lyra pressed her hand to the window, watching the planet recede. Captain Elias sat beside her. Are you ready for the adventure ahead? He asked gently. Lyra nodded, a smile spreading across her face. Yes, I'm ready. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the shuttle's viewport, and Lyra felt a thrill she had never known. She was leaving behind rejection, fear, and doubt. Ahead of her lay a future filled with possibility, guided by someone who believed in her. For the first time in her life, Lyra knew she had a home, not a place defined by walls or rules, but by trust, care, and the bond she shared with someone who saw her true self. And as the shuttle moved toward the unknown reaches of space, she felt the quiet certainty that her journey was only beginning. The shuttle glided silently through the star-filled void, leaving the colony of Iridian far behind. Lyra pressed her small hands against the viewport, watching the glowing planet shrink into the distance. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness, her heart pounding with anticipation. For the first time in her life, she was leaving behind rejection, fear, and loneliness. Ahead lay the unknown, but with Captain Elias by her side, she felt ready. Captain Elias watched her quietly. Are you all right, Lyra? He asked softly. Lyra turned to him, her eyes shining. Yes, I think so. I feel happy, safe, like I finally belong somewhere. Elias smiled warmly. Good. That's how it should feel. You deserve that feeling, Lyra. You've earned it with courage, intelligence, and heart. Lyra smiled, feeling a sense of pride she had never known. The trials, the rejections, the challenges, they had all led to this moment. She had faced her fears, controlled her powers, and proven her worth. Now, she could finally look forward to the future without doubt clouding her heart. The shuttle hummed as it traveled deeper into space, approaching a small, uncharted planet that Elias had chosen for their new home. He had carefully selected it for its natural beauty, safety, and the opportunity to learn and grow. As they entered orbit, Lyra gasped. The planet below was a wonder, a lush world filled with green forests, sparkling rivers, and vast open plains stretching to the horizon. This is beautiful, Lyra whispered, her voice filled with awe. Elias extended a hand. It's all yours now, Lyra. We'll build a life here together. The shuttle descended slowly, landing on a flat plateau overlooking a crystalline lake. Lyra stepped out, feeling the soft grass under her feet and the gentle warmth of the sunlight on her skin. For the first time, she felt truly free. Over the next several days, Lyra and Elias explored their new home, They discovered forests filled with strange, colorful plants, rivers teeming with unusual fish, and wide plains perfect for running and playing. Lyra's powers became even stronger in this new environment, responding naturally to the energy of the planet. She could lift small boulders, guide the wind, and even influence the growth of certain plants. Elias watched with admiration. "You're incredible, Lyra. You've grown so much in such a short time. And this planet, it will help you grow even more," Lyra blushed. "I couldn't have done it without you. You believed in me when no one else did." Elias shook his head. "No, Lyra, you believed in yourself too. I only reminded you of what you already had inside." As they settled into their new home, Lyra began to feel a sense of routine and purpose. She helped Elias build a small dwelling, using her powers to assist with lifting heavy materials and arranging the structure. She also began to explore the surrounding land, learning about the plants, animals, and natural energy flows of the planet. Every day brought new challenges and new discoveries. One afternoon, while walking through a meadow filled with glowing flowers, Lyra paused and closed her eyes. She could feel the planet's energy flowing beneath her feet, responding to her own powers. She lifted a small stone effortlessly and guided it through the air, watching as it danced in a graceful arc before landing gently on the grass. "You've really come into your own," Elias said, watching her with pride. "I knew you could, but seeing it, it's incredible." Lyra smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. She thought back to the colony, the trials, and the fears she had faced. Every step had been difficult, but each one had prepared her for this moment. She was no longer the child who had been rejected time and again. She was strong, capable, and full of potential. As days turned into weeks, Lyra and Elias developed a comfortable routine. They explored, learned, and shared stories of their pasts. Elias told Lyra about humans and their history, while Lyra taught him about alien cultures, telekinesis, and the wonders of Iridian. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, built on trust, respect, and friendship. One evening, as the twin suns of their new planet set, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Lyra sat beside Elias on a hill overlooking their home. She felt a sense of peace she had never known. "Elias," she said softly, "I never thought I'd have a home like this. I never thought someone would see me for who I really am." Elias placed a gentle hand on hers. "You've always been special, Lyra. I just helped you see it. And now you have a place where you can grow, explore, and be yourself without fear." Lyra looked out at the horizon, the glowing rivers and forests stretching endlessly before her. She felt a surge of hope. "I want to learn everything I can. I want to use my powers to help others, to explore new places, and to make a difference," Elias nodded. "And you will, Lyra. Together, we'll make sure of it. This planet, this home, is just the beginning. There's so much out there for us to discover." Over the following months, Lyra's abilities continued to develop. She learned to manipulate energy more precisely, control objects over greater distances, and even influence natural elements like wind and water. She discovered joy in her powers, using them to cultivate gardens, build shelters, and help the wildlife around their home. But beyond her powers, Lyra grew in confidence and self-worth. She no longer doubted herself or feared rejection. She had found someone who believed in her, and more importantly, she had learned to believe in herself. One day, while exploring a nearby forest, Lyra came across a small, injured creature, a creature unlike any she had seen before. Its leg was broken and it whimpered softly. Lyra knelt beside it, her hands glowing with a soft, gentle light. Carefully, she lifted the creature's leg and guided it into place, using her powers to mend the injury. The creature chirped happily and nuzzled her hand, and Lyra laughed with joy. "This is amazing," Elias said, standing beside her. "You're not just powerful, you're compassionate. You use your abilities to help, to care, to make the world better." Lyra smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart. "I want to help as much as I can," she said. "I want to make sure no one feels as alone as I once did." Elias nodded. "And you will, Lyra. This is your home, your life, and your chance to make a difference. I couldn't be prouder of you." As night fell, the stars twinkling above them, Lyra lay beside Elias, looking up at the sky. She felt a deep sense of belonging, knowing that she had finally found her place in the universe. For years, she had been rejected, returned, and overlooked. But now, she had a home, a guide, and a future filled with possibilities. The pain of the past faded, replaced by hope, joy, and the knowledge that she was valued and loved. And as Lyra drifted to sleep under the glowing stars, she knew that her journey had only just begun. There were new worlds to explore, new challenges to face, and new adventures waiting for her. But for the first time she was not afraid. She had found her forever home, and with it she had found herself. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of wonders and mysteries. And together, Lyra and Captain Elias would discover them all side by side. The story of a rejected child returned too many times had come to an extraordinary ending. Lyra had found a home, not just a place to live, but a place where she belonged, where her heart and her abilities could flourish, and where she could be herself completely. Her journey had been long and difficult, but it had led her to something far greater than she had ever imagined: hope, love, and a forever home among the stars. And as the shuttle's gentle hum carried them into the night, Lyra looked forward to a future filled with light, adventure, and endless possibilities. She had been chosen, she had been seen, and she had finally found her place in the universe.